Hi everyone. In this video, I want to talk about some very obvious and logical impact of earth pollution in people's lives that have been kind of ignored by treatment regimens sometimes, or even not examined as deeply as they should be examined, related to general health as well as women's health. And some of these topics are slightly easier to understand if made in one video. That's why I'm trying to incorporate these different health related topics in the same video. So first, related to earth pollution paradigm, a very obvious thing about earth pollution that people tend to miss is regarding the problem of plastic related pollution or endocrine disruptor related pollution on earth. So, in our quest of humans to not have too much easily decomposable or disintegratable items on earth, we came up with plastic and stronger materials that can survive for a long time. But while those materials were surviving for a long time on earth and helping us in not buying more and more of certain products, unfortunately we still end up using a lot of plastic in many elements of our life, which has resulted in the pollution of our waters. But plastic is not simply polluting our waters, it's also polluting our land. The water pollution is the most evident currently because eventually after land pollution, when rainy season happens, when climatic changes happens, at the time it gets accumulated in the beaches, and that's why we can so evidently observe what is happening to the plastic that's accumulated in our waterways. But plastic doesn't simply get accumulated in the waterways. When the same plastic that is collected by people who are working in the recycling industry end up then recycling the plastic, there are many plastic related measures that ends up being the recycling process is melting away the plastic, and because it's melting away the plastic during that time, it adds to a different kind of earth pollution. So in order to stem the problem of plastic pollution, there are many other things that people have to think deeply and work on deeply in order to actually resolve it at a practical, global, and a mass scale level. Because when the plastic is getting recycled, or not simply plastic, any other chemicals for manufacturing purposes are being created somewhere in a particular country, at that time there is a lot of air and water pollution which we know about. And in order to stem the water pollution, air pollution, many practices are also being done. But what people don't realize is, until now the kind of practices that has been happening has only shifted the responsibility to different countries. So earlier, when the previous epidemics happened on earth, at that time there was a lot of manufacturing activities and industrialization going on, where in the initial developed countries. So it was happening in Europe, it was happening in US. And when it was happening in the developed countries of Europe or in America, at the time when slowly the data started emerging that there is health harm associated with these manufacturing activities, those manufacturing activities then got translated and transferred, where it has got transferred into poorer nations, less economically developed nations, or nations with easier laws where stricter manufacturing practices or guidelines might not be executed. So when it got transferred, where did it land up? It landed up in Asian countries, it landed up in South American or African countries, or any country that is socioeconomically much poorer and has, in terms of law, also a lot of corruption going on in those countries. So as a result, what has happened is that while regulations, like especially let me talk about India because I'm an Indian, so I know that even though regulations and laws say certain things should happen, there are many places where the law is not getting followed. Again, the second aspect that is also there is, even if law is getting followed, people also end up skirting the law and following it only at the bare minimum level, instead of taking it at a deeper level to ensure that truly, like if there is a law that wants to protect a certain area and a certain area's habitat from getting destroyed because of the pollution activities from certain activities going on in that area. It could be manufacturing activities, it could be recycling activities, it could be something else. Whatever is commonly going on in an area, in order to protect the habitat of that area, maybe some laws came up. But again, if the law is listing 10 things that need to happen in that area, those 10 things that are being listed by the law is based on the current knowledge you have about what is going to be harmful, or the current data that has reached the government as this is harmful, that's why this needs to stop. But there are so many elements related to earth pollution, health related issues, healthcare related issues that don't reach the government, that don't reach the medical profession, especially when governances and medical profession are overloaded with too much work. Because, and this tends to happen actually in a country like India, and that's why also corruption flows so much in India. Because if there are 100,000 people living in a particular city, and your government offices are only capable of functioning at a level where only maybe 1,000 cases can be cleared in a month, then if you have not made the proportional changes according to the population of the area, there are so many people who can't even get their stuff done because there's such a backlog, and then that ends up people paying bribes for getting the thing done. But how do you actually resolve this problem of bribes is not simply just that make rules against bribes, but you have to also stem it that if our country currently has job postings that is not proportional to the population of our country, then the population needs, mass scale population needs, doesn't get met. And it's not simply true about government, it is true also about healthcare, because in healthcare I have found this in India that only the top really critically ill patients or very easily discernible patients whose medical reports are showing something very discernibly wrong with them gets the treatment from the doctors, and which is a good thing and a bad thing, and I'll tell you why it is a good thing. It is a good thing because if everyone starts getting prescribed a lot of medication or a lot of surgical procedures, it will overburden our system in India. So in India, if the top 10% of the patients are getting treated, one who is severely ill or moderate to majorly ill and very visibly ill, when they get treatment, what are the rest of the 90% of the population who are not able to get the right treatment or right diagnosis supposed to do? This is what I learned eventually from my own healthcare experience, because I was not visibly or evidently ill to the doctor, or when I had say instances of pesticide poisoning, the doctor is not able to understand that the root cause of my problem is pesticide exposure, and also while I need the treatment for pesticide poisoning, the poisoning that is not happening because I am working in a place where pesticides are used regularly, and it is also not the poisoning where or I'm not I'm not a typical chronic poisoning patient, neither am I a typical acute poisoning patient that I am consuming something because I'm depressed. And I've gone through depression. I've also, that's why I created a video about depression, while I have been suffering from depression and also occasionally randomly get suicidal thoughts as well. Despite both of these challenges, I am not the kind to take any kind of medicine or anything purposely to kill myself. I just don't align with that practice. I don't even take medicine unless I have to take medicine. So even it seems like a ridiculous thing, right? If a person is resistant to taking a lot of medications, I take medicines very minimally, only when required, and if avoidable, I will avoid taking medicine and go towards a path that can heal me without taking a medicine. So if I'm that kind of a personality, why will I have access to medicine? Firstly, I shouldn't have access to medicine as much as other normal people will have. Secondly, if I had also access to the medicine, when I'm not taking it for personal consumption for healing myself, killing is the opposite of healing, but even for killing myself, why will I take that route? Does that make sense, or doesn't that make sense? So these are also certain things lawmakers need to understand about patients. or even governments and even medical systems need to understand about patients. Like sometimes when a patient comes injected with a lot of drugs, if you assume that they are committing suicide, is it really necessary that they committed suicide, or did some other problem also happen that led to their death, which is showing a lot of medications in their body, but it doesn't, or a lot of particular chemical in a body like a pesticide, but that doesn't mean that they died of pesticide poisoning because they were trying to kill themselves by consuming pesticide. A person, there could be two people who could come to the doctor both with high level of pesticide in their body and both having acute poisoning symptoms, but one of the persons who has acute poisoning could be someone who was trying to commit suicide because their life is miserable, but the other one could have also been getting poisoned by the people in their lives. They could have been poisoned either by directly, indirectly, covertly, overtly. Now the direct poisoning could be someone who has a vested interest, say they are a rich person, and or they have some secret money somewhere in a bank that they don't know about, but someone in their family knows that they have a bank account that they can get access to, and they don't have the access to it, but their family or friends or someone knows that they have access to a lot of money, and that person ends up killing them. That can happen. There could be, and they are being clever, because there are very high level, highly intellectual people on this world who are thinking in these nasty ways to kill someone using a very and masking it as a suicide when it is not a suicide. That can happen to someone. Then something that happened to me, if no one was trying to kill me directly, there was the problem of me living in areas where there's a lot of pesticide pollution going on in that area. So when pesticide pollution is going on in that area, if I continuously drink water from that area and the water is polluted, if the bottled water is also polluted, if the foods are polluted, if the drinks are polluted, if the food source is polluted, if multi-level places where I'm consuming some food is polluted, or even my clothes are polluted, because in the air when it's getting sprayed, some of it is coming and falling in my hair, on my clothes as well. So say from 5-6 different sources I'm getting that pesticide exposure. That will also lead me to get a acute poisoning like symptom sometimes, if on a particular day there were 5-10 different sources of pesticides that ended up landing on my body. So that was a indirect poisoning that was happening to me. So the doctor has to start realizing about indirect poisoning. A government official who's investigating someone's death might have to also investigate it. Or when someone is coming with a seeming suicide attempt, maybe they were not attempting suicide, maybe they were getting poisoned by someone in their family. So all these need to be rightly discerned, and there is a right way of discerning these things and there's a wrong way of discerning it. And the more lack of mindfulness people have in the work they do, or the ignorance they have about the work they do, the more levels where they can mess up understanding whether it was a poisoning, whether it was a deliberate harm, whether it was a covert harm, whether it was a harm that was indirectly happening as a consequence of multiple things that went wrong in their life. So, and this multiple things going wrong in our life is going on with many of us who are not those direct patients who are showing a very severe illness of heart or lungs or one organ damage, who might be having multiple level organ damage which makes them really sick. But because all the multiple level organ damages might be borderline damages, when they land up at a doctor's hospital or a clinic, at that time their reports, if the doctor is only treating and very used to treating the top 10% sick patients, they're not able to perceive the problems of the bottom 90% patients. And at that time, us, those 90% patients who are not getting treated by a doctor, have to realize that there are some ways in which of the 90% there would be another 30% who still need treatment, but they need a very patient directed treatment, which is what was emerging in US about a decade back when we were doing the evidence based medicine practices in the doctorate of pharmacy related coursework, where we are examining now when a patient is sick and their medication itself is causing them harm, which medicines should be taken off their plate or reduced in dose or changed into something that would be more better suited for the patient's current condition. These are the kinds of practices that were coming up in the evidence based medicine practices in US. But in India, that evidence based and also patient directed, patient specific treatment regimen hasn't come up a lot, especially because again, when you are treating mass scale, a major chunk of population, and that treatment is working for that population, those people who are already overloaded with a lot of work, they don't have the time and energy or space to look at those other people who also need their help. But because the system is overburdened and right proportional people are not present to address the problem, the right build up hasn't been done to address the problem in the right way as the population is growing. So if the number of doctors in a particular area is much less compared to the population of that area, most times patients won't even go to the doctor unless they are really sick. And these are all the natural intuitive ways in which universe prevents us from going to a doctor unless we are really sick. Like in India, I just won't go to a doctor unless I'm really really sick. That is what majority Indians will do. Very few Indians are hypochondriac enough. Either hypochondriac or mentally ill patients will go for fictional diseases to the doctor, or if they are also socially ill and are planning a murder of someone, they might go and give fake symptoms, take medicine, and then try to murder someone using their medication. Because I have experienced these three types of personalities as well as a practitioner and in my personal life, who are this level mentally and socially ill. And then, and personal life meaning I might have met them as a colleague, met them as a friend, and they might be part of my family as well. But I can't directly accuse them. If indirectly I have accused someone about something that I know intuitively they are doing, but if direct evidence or right evidence can't be gathered, again, because if people don't have the right skills to understand where to gather evidence, how to gather evidence, even if you complain about some problem, if the right personality needed to address that problem is not present there, you can't get the problem solved in the right way. Which is true of everything, be it government system, be it banking system, be it business, be it healthcare, be it clinic related practice, hospital related practice, any work we do on earth, or be it even a simple mom living in a home who is a housewife, even she has a job that she has to do in the right way. There's a right way to be a mom and there is a wrong way or a misaligned way, and the more misaligned you are with the purpose of what you are doing as a housewife or as a mom or as a dad, whatever is your life purpose, whatever is the job role you have taken consciously and unconsciously, both are going to, the worse you practice that job role you have taken, the worse you are going to add to the problem related to health and life. So, and this is where currently on earth the problem is lying, because there are many people who are operating at this superficial level. They are doing things in life, some which they can have the power to change, but they are unwilling to change the practice that if they don't change will lead to their death and harm, because they will be in those bottom 90% of the patients which the doctors don't have time to address, or if the clinical tests are not showing that there is a problem, they will not get addressed by those clinical systems. So those 90% of the patients who are suffering, of those 90 there will be 30-40% who are at a bare minimum level of some minor allergy or minor things going on with them, and those minor things, though certain days, they are majorly escalating in their health. Why? Because even if you have a minor allergy going on, if there are 10 health harming chemicals, biological toxins, microbial toxins in your home environment, how are you supposed to solve the problem? Are you supposed to solve the problem with medicine? Actually no. If you live in a very densely populated country or a densely populated part of even a less densely populated country of the world, any densely populated area of the world has to wake up to this fact that the more chemicals you use in your body, some of it stays in your body and ends up causing some biochemical changes that helps you with your symptoms, but most of the drug gets eliminated from your body eventually. And when it gets eliminated from your body via excretion, sweating, peeing, whatever elimination system will take it out from your body. And for women, we also have our period organ, our reproductive organ. So during periods, when the cells are dying and the reproductive cells as well as blood is flowing out of our body, at that time also with our blood some of the impurities in our near our reproductive organs and in our blood is also getting flushed out from our body. People don't understand this, people don't realize the value of this in a woman's body, but this is necessary thing to understand. That's why women sometimes in COVID, why do you think there are women patients with much lower hemoglobin level who were able to survive through COVID, when certain men with much higher hemoglobin levels were not able to survive or had poorer outcomes? Because this is the difference. Like my hemoglobin level will be low if I'm bleeding a lot, but when I am bleeding a lot versus bleeding in moderate amounts, which happened to me when I was younger, I was bleeding in moderate amounts. When I was healthier and less chemical exposures were there in my body, my level of bleeding was 5 days a month bleeding. But when my exposure to chemical toxins were higher in my home environment because of pest control being done or because of other chemical activities going on in the area in which I am living, those chemicals in my water supply, which is getting absorbed when I'm taking a shower, which might also be present in my food if I'm cooking directly using the water source that I have in my home, all of this ends up coming inside my body, but my body's elimination system will be trying to expel it out. So one of the elimination system for a woman is their reproductive organ, which monthly will try to take out these toxins via our blood. That's why also men, this thing people don't understand about those women who get very severe bleeding before they hit menopause, when they are getting this very very severe phases of bleeding, which happened to my mother also. She was bleeding twice a month instead of just once a month, because the level of toxin exposure that was happening to her was higher. And when I said there was a mentally ill person in my family, that mentally ill person was responsible for increasing her toxic exposures. If they are not mentally ill, they are socially ill. They are also not understanding that if data doesn't emerge about health harm about something, doesn't mean that a health harming thing may not be present in people's lives. So if I am bleeding, there it is very obvious, and I'm bleeding in larger amounts than I was bleeding earlier, it is a very evident sign that some pollution related to my health is happening, something that is poisoning and toxic to me is happening. And when people like my mother or aunt, they all got hysterectomy done as a consequence of excess bleeding, because that is what men have decided, that if women is bleeding a lot, they don't want to deal with the blood of a woman, so their way of dealing with it is take the organ out, which is such a thing that people really need to rethink about, because it seems like a very ridiculous thing. Like if you are a man and you were in an accident and your hand was bleeding continuously, majority of the times, 99.99% of the time, are you going to cut off the arm? You will cut off the arm only when that arm is not functional at all. Otherwise, if my arm is bleeding somewhere very severely also for hours and hours, the best solution is to patch up that bleeding by doing a stitch. Of course, you can't stitch up a woman's reproductive organ when they are bleeding excessively, because the purpose of the organ is to shed all toxic cells and shed the blood as well. People don't understand that is the purpose, or people have forgotten that is the purpose, because our ancient Vedic texts in Hinduism actually does talk about this, that when a woman is having periods, at that time they are dispelling of the negative energy also from their body. That's why also women get PMS and PMDD symptoms during or before their periods, that excess anger or the excess energy that some women will get this excess energy drive also to do certain things, because at that time, if say your home is unclean, suddenly you will get a cleaning related urge to clean everything. Why? Because during the periods you are going to be shedding cells and you're shedding blood, so your body is also, while it is taking away and cleaning up all toxins from your body or dead cells from your uterine organs, at a time while the reproductive organs broken cells are shedding, and we just assume that because a biological work of a woman not being pregnant is the reason why the dead cells are getting shared. But that is just an assumption, because everyone has presumed that a woman's body is only meant to function as a carrier of a baby, but or the reproductive organs function is only to carry a baby. But that is not the only function. Reproductive organs function is also to dispel of negative energy, and while not just energy but real chemicals that are harmful to our body will also exit our body when bleeding is happening in a woman. So it's a healthy thing when bleeding is happening, but that healthy thing becomes unhealthy when the manageable levels of toxins are not there in the body. So while it is normal to bleed for 5 days in a week, if you are bleeding longer than 5 days, that can become abnormal. If you are bleeding instead of just a few hundred ml of blood daily, instead of that you're bleeding liters of blood, that becomes harmful, because rest of your body's organs now will not get the blood, and you will, that's why, have the anemia that women usually have also in their health. But also the real root cause of their problem has not been solved. The root cause being some chemicals in their home environment, some chemicals in their daily lifestyle choices that are harming them. One very evident chemical that I have found that has continuously harmed and caused me to bleed excessively has been the chemicals that are present in women's hygiene and toiletries and women's products. So if I am using highly scented shampoos, soaps, body washes, face washes, or even highly scented feminine hygiene products that people use during periods, all of them lead me to have excess bleeding. And the way I have found that that is a culprit is the moment I stop using those products, I do not get that much of a excess bleeding. The moment I change to, for my feminine hygiene products, when I change and switch to a product that doesn't have high chemical content that is harmful to my health, as soon as I change to a product that has less chemical harm or no chemical harm, my period flow level reduces. So instead of bleeding a liter of blood in some of my peak period days, I might be only bleeding 200-300 ml of blood. That's it. So the bleeding level reduces. Or if I'm living in a place where there is a lot of water pollution related chemical damages going on with my health, so at a time what happened, like in Mumbai, when high levels of pollution were there during summertime, at that time in summertime my bleeding was happening once every instead of every 28 days my periods happening, I was getting periods 5 days sooner. So that 5 days sooner periods that I was getting, so some every 20 days or 24 days I might get periods. That was happening to me sometimes. Whenever the pollution level is higher, I'm getting periods sooner. Whenever the pollution level is lower or manageable by my body, I'm getting periods more closer to the 28 days cycle that I used to have when I was younger. And same way, when I went to cities where these chemical harm from water pollution was much less than the chemical harm from water pollution in Mumbai cities or villages or towns, in those places, and I lived in those places for 2-3 months, automatically my body was stabilizing, and because less water pollution related chemicals were present in my body, immediately my period flow went closer to the 28-day cycle than becoming a 24-day or 20-day cycle. So this was the evident place where I have found women's products need to change. And because again, in most of the companies globally, the CEOs, the people making decision for the products they are creating, they're all men, and they're looking at the problem from, why do you think all these scented products have been created? Men do not like the smell of blood, so that's why they're creating all these scented products for women. But, and women also, none of us want to have the smell of blood in our body every time we are bleeding, or not just the blood, like when we are wearing a pad for 12 hours, 10 hours, at that time also bacteria can grow in it, and if we have some, say, potential bacterial infection going on in our urinary tract, then that bacterial infection will grow in our pad as well. If you have fungal infection going on, then that fungal infection might be growing in the pad. So the bad smell is getting created because of what? Because someone has a hidden infection going on in their body, hidden, undiagnosed, undetected infection. Or someone might be unhygienically practicing their like the pads sometimes need to be changed every at least twice a day or 3 times a day. You should be changing your pads. But if people are not changing their pads a couple of times that they need to change, then also the chances of bacteria or other microorganisms growing will be higher. So all these are the places. There are multiple places where you actually need to solve the problem. You don't need to solve the problem. We have been trying to solve the problem, that is mass scale problem, with simple bandage like procedure, simple scent like procedure, but the scent itself has now become harmful for a woman. So you can't, instead of solving the problem, you're adding to the problem the more scent or stronger scent or long lasting scent like things you add into our products. Same thing with all the cloth cleaning solutions also that are happening. We don't want this stink from sweat coming in our body, or the if we are sweating also, people want those scented sprays and perfumes, and people want scented clothes so that they can smell good. But again, you are putting a solution that is not a deeper level true solution. And the deeper level true solution is, you have to ensure that the person who is stinking needs to understand, like I have to understand this, that when I'm stinking really heavily, what I have understood about that is, if I am eating foods which are not healthy food, then I will have a lot more sweat. Because if that food is not healthy for my body wants to expel it out. So sweating is also a normal response to some toxin in my food. It could be a microbial toxin, it could be a chemical toxin. So when there is microbial toxin, like what I have detected is onions, which are very frequently used on earth. When earth pollution is high, we also have high level of fungus and mold pollution going on earth currently. So onions are one food product in which the mold pollution is very easily discernible. But there are so many people I know who cook with onions without taking off the mold, or deciding that if a onion is really mold infested, they should not use it for cooking. So people end up using onion for cooking without cleaning the onion the right way. Or without not or deciding that when there is too much mold, I shouldn't use that moldy food at all. And people also eat raw onions, so you could consume raw onions with a lot of mold content which are not visible to the eye. When it is covered with the black mold, you can visibly see it. But there will also be, it's a microorganism. When it is at a higher level, it has grown on the onion, at that time you can see the black mold on it. But when it is at a lower level, so if you have a batch of 1 kg that you have bought from a store, if 2 onions are heavily black laced and the rest aren't, then doesn't mean that the rest of them don't have mold in it. That's why I am a kind of a person who has a who used to, when I was younger, I didn't used to like eating raw onion, because I knew it would leave a bad taste in my mouth. It would also cause sweat with real bad stink in it. And again, this was an intuitive thing my body was doing. At that time, I didn't know I was highly allergic to scents, and I was having all these sneezing problem that I'm having. I get sneezing like that when I use scented products, or I might get severe headaches, all of which also add to my PMS PMDD symptoms. Because the PMS PMDD symptoms, while it said it's pre-menopausal symptom or pre-menstruation symptom, so it's not always that I'll get the rage or anger just 1 or 2 days before my period. I can also get the anger related symptoms while I am on my periods. So sorry, I thought this video froze. So during my periods, why am I getting that anger or some other symptom related to PMS? Because at that time, if I am constantly like getting a headache, imagine a man when he is constantly getting a headache, Most women know that when the man is irritated, when the man of the house is angry, or when the man of the house is frustrated. Most women have attuned themselves around their man to know the day when the man is unhappy, man is angry or something, and they try to calm their man by soothing them, helping them, providing them good nutritious food, helping them heal if they have a headache or a illness, minor illness cropping up in their health. But the likewise thing a man is also supposed to do occasionally for the women has not translated in majority family lives. So while a woman and a man's cycle, people don't realize this, a man's biological cycle is every 24 hours, whereas a woman's is every 28 days. So for a man, when he's getting irritated, today he might get irritated, but for 2-3 months again, if he has been soothed, if he has been taken care of, he will not be irritated, he will be happy, right? But while a man is getting that one, and he will only get, because this is a 24 day cycle, for him his period of irritation will last only maybe 1 minute, 5 minutes, 1 hour, that's it, depending on the degree of stress and degree of things that were wrong with his body. His hormonal systems are such that it will balance him out, and also the people around him are such that they will balance him out, and it takes only 1 hour or 1 day to cause a man to feel good about his life. But it is not true, that is not true for a woman. For a typical woman who has on a 28-day cycle, when during the 2-3 days of the period she's upset or angry or experiencing PMS or experiencing heavy blood flow related pain, as well as headaches from all these scented chemicals that has been promoted as beneficial for women, and that's why women are using it. But all of them have that internal toll in our brain's biochemistry, in our body biochemistry, leading to biochemical changes, stress related changes, headache related central nervous system related changes, all of which eventually will end up causing a woman to be angry longer. But again, a man, he can get angry on Monday, and then for 2-3 weeks he will not be angry again. After 2-3 weeks he will get angry on a 15 days later or 21 days later, because, and he has been soothed also during that time. So some man who has really good wife and children and family in his life, he will stay easily soothed for even months and months. But imagine a woman, she's not getting any help for 3-4 days of the periods, she's not getting any care, she's not getting any caretaking. If she is angry or if she is upset, instead of a man trying to soothe her, he doesn't even know that the same degree of care he gets when he is upset, he is angry, and for him like 10 people are coming to help him. But for a woman, not even one person is coming to help her when she is upset, she is angry, she is going through severe pain, the kind of pain that simply actually needs a healing touch from a man, a soothing hug from a man, or a soup that might be a favorite soup to eat, or a food that might be a favorite food for her to have. But the man is intuitively completely misaligned with the women in his life, and that's why he doesn't understand when he has to take the role of a caretaker. And because men are not biologically, men have say 70-80% masculine energy, 30% feminine energy, so only 30% of the time or 20% of the time only they are meant to soothe their wives. And women who are going to be their complementary partners, they will have the 70, if a man has 70% masculine energy and 30 feminine, the women will have 70% feminine energy, 30% masculine, to balance him out. And that means the woman will be capable of soothing him 70% of the time. But the 30% of the time, when the woman needs now her masculine energy and her needs of caretaking, needs care, at a time if the man in her family is not giving that, that will lead to a conflict filled relationship, imbalanced relationship, unequally yoked relationship, and a very unhealthy relationship, which is where many people, when they are in relationships, when they don't understand and they start categorizing their girlfriends or boyfriends as crazy. You're categorizing someone else as crazy simply because you don't have the capacity to balance them out in the right way. And yeah, it's okay if you categorize them as a crazy person or a red flag or whatever, but leave them be. You don't have to continue dating and victimizing yourself in relationship where you are not able to handle the pain and pressure of being a certain kind of a spouse to the person you are thinking of marrying or you have actually married. And this thing you need to understand about yourself, because if you want truly a healthy life, healthy balanced life, healthy life for your kids, you have to understand which kind of personality traits. You have to understand yourself deeply. If you understand yourself deeply, you will understand where you have the capacity to give, where you don't have the capacity to give. And don't be with those women where you don't have the capacity to give to them what they need. Because say you are a very masculine energy oriented man, you are capable of only giving care for 20% of the time, but that person is not very not the, if you are 80-20 masculine feminine, your balancing counterpart has to be 80% feminine in nature, then only they will balance you out. But if you choose a partner who is 60% feminine and 40% masculine, she needs 40% caretaking and you are capable of only giving caretaking 20% of the time. And then if you have ego also in the place, then there are also men who are capable of giving care for 20% of the time, but even in that 20% that they are capable of giving care, they don't give care because of their ego and other things. So then also there is a problem zone. So you have to first understand, are you balancing and complementary to each other? If you are balancing and complementary to each other and are able to provide the complementary care to each other, you are in a good relationship. If you're balancing and caretaking towards each other, but you're not, your ego is stopping you from taking care of someone in the way they need or in the way they ask or seek help, then again you are misaligned with them. You can't be their balancing counterpart, even if superficially it might seem that you have the right 80-20 personality traits to complement each other, but it's a superficial complementary trait if you are not capable or not ready to provide them what they need when they are in their weakest. Because when a woman is going through period, she is at their weakest, and she's not only at their weakest, she's in a healing phase. She's trying to eliminate all the things that are harmful for her. So if in her life her husband has not been taking care of certain family needs, family responsibilities, those things, you will see also women when they are PMSing or when women are at a high stress festival timings, at a time women end up showing the stress via anger and all these verbal responses. But at that time you will see most of the time when they're verbally saying something, in all those, if you listen carefully to what they are saying, they're all saying all the things for 28 days that didn't happen in their life, or a whole year that didn't happen, that should have happened if they had a complementary partner, understanding partner, balancing partner, healing partner. Because people's healing is dependent on the partner also they have, on the family they have, on the social life they have. And while men for centuries have got the care and caretaking for a long time without even asking for it, women have to constantly ask for that caretaking. And if they tell 10 times that there are 10 things that need fixing, because of ego of men, because of unawareness of men sometimes in their life, those men, even if men really have 10 problems that need solving, and in very complex level they need solving, because women, first of all, because of centuries of living, they will not even ask a man for help if they are not going through a complex problem. So most women, those who are capable women, balanced women, aligned women, know how to problem solve their life. They will not ask help unless they are at a state where they don't know how to problem solve that area. And at that time, if you are operating at a level of someone who doesn't even give the, if 10 things need to be solved, and you are the kind of a spouse or family who's only ready to solve one thing, or not even capable of discerning the other 9 problems going on, you cannot be the right spouse for someone. So your marriage will break up, your family life might break up, or you might end up being in a very miserable marriage, especially when woman is weak, when she's experiencing periods monthly and for decades of her life. And those were the training grounds for men to understand and attune and align and intuitively align with their spouse. But in those 20-30 years of a marital life with spouse, if you didn't align with your spouse's needs, And then when they get, actually when menopause happens or when hysterectomy has happened, what happens is the capacity of a woman's body to dispel out the toxin via the blood is now stopped. So when the whole reproductive organ is taken away, not only or not the reproductive organs, multiple functions get stopped. When menopause happens, all the multiple functions of the reproductive organ doesn't get stopped, but at least the blood flow that was taking out the toxin from the woman's body is stopped. So now the woman is in even more physical distress when she's in her 60s 50s, whenever she's hitting her menopause. And at that time, again, if for 30-40 years of marriage, during once monthly small doses when she needed caretaking and healing, you didn't end up giving her the care she needs, the healing she needs, you think after 40-50 years you will be able to give her that? You will not be able to give her that. And then you will end up being in a very miserable marriage. And at that time, then what is the universal solution? One or the other will end up dying if they don't caretake each other in the way they are meant to caretake each other in their old age. Because this is also part of healthy living and healthy living of life on earth. But this healthy livings, the prognosis that I'm giving for someone's marriage 50 years down the line, that prognosis is first step of better outcome, where people won't die, will have a healthy life in their 50s 60s 70s. That can't manifest in our 20s or 30s if we are stuck with paradigms of earthly living that are misaligned. So if I have when in my previous videos I have talked about how in my parents generation the chemicals that our parents were using were only 1-2 chemicals for cleansing purposes in home life or for hygiene purposes in their daily life. Those same 1-2 chemicals that were prevalent in our parents generation now has escalated to 10-20 products or more. And then that's why our degree of health harm has also increased. That's why our degree of health harm having increased from usage of so many products. Our body's stress levels are high, our body's responses to stresses are high, and you will also see that's why women are having all the measures related to their health happening sooner. So earlier, when a healthy earth existed, women were getting menopause in their 60s possibly on average. But now that same menopause over time first got shifted to the 50s timeline range, and nowadays there are also some women who are hitting that in their 40s. My mother, when she got a hysterectomy, or any of my family when they got an hysterectomy, whichever person had the highest level of pollution or health harming parameters high in their life, they had the hysterectomy sooner as well. So all these things need to be examined, and I feel hysterectomy also needs to be examined as a practice for stopping someone from becoming better. Because after hysterectomy, most patients I have observed have very few who are very mindful about where they lived, and if they had supportive family members to help them with mindful living, those people lived a long time after hysterectomy. Otherwise, if and I have seen 3 family members who had hysterectomy, or at least I didn't see them have the hysterectomy, but theoretically I was told that these are 3 family members who had their hysterectomy done. And in all of them, the one who was the most care taken, most careful about their food and other chemical intake or microbial intake, that person lived the longest after hysterectomy. The one who wanted to caretake a lot of things because they were the family member from whom they have learned how to have a healthy, clean home environment, but even though they were mindful about keeping a clean home environment, their other people living with them were not careful about keeping the right home environment necessary for them to have a healthy life. Because first of all, people are not awakened to what is unhealthy for many of us. So when only percentage of population is showing that health harm over a long period of time, it takes time to discern the health harm. So when people don't have discernment, don't have understanding, don't even after getting educational knowledge from someone want to live in denial that that is the root cause of a problem in all of these times. And if someone also has someone who wants to deliberately harm you, then in all these circumstances the one who has all these parameters present will die sooner after hysterectomy. The one who has some of these parameters where little denial, little understanding about what is health safe for them is absent, they will take maybe 5-6 years later, they will die after hysterectomy. But nonetheless, do you want your mothers to die sooner, or would you want your mothers to stay healthy longer? If you want your mothers to stay healthy longer, not die sooner, because women do take a lot of unpaid caretaking work throughout their life, in their family's life. Most women, I'm not saying that all women do it, but majority women are capable of doing things for which they get no credit, and only after that women dies that does a family realize that what are the major things the woman was doing for which she didn't get credit, for which she was never praised, for which she was never even acknowledged that this was important as a part of our healthy living paradigm. Because if you don't have loving moms, if you don't have caring moms, if you don't have a mom when you are simply sniffling and is able to give you a food that will help you heal, or a careful mom who cooks carefully, because many men also think this that and that's why also men marry, like after a woman after their mom, the next person who is in line in training to take care of a man is his wife. But at that time also, if you don't choose the wife that is aligned with your needs, or you are aligned with her needs, you will end up not being good for each other, and then end up health harming each other rather than helping each other in your middle age, old age, all the difficult parts of your life where you were supposed to be with someone who is meant to help you lead a balanced life. So understanding the purpose also of a woman in your life or a man in your life is, that's why important for us, because all of this only is going to, once you understand the real purpose of being in each other's lives, then only you will think mindfully about the things that are needed to improve the life of a person. One who doesn't think value his wife, doesn't value his wife's health, doesn't value that simply bleed, if you only directly correlated that this person bleeding means my quality of life is going away, because now when they were bleeding only 3 days a month, my quality of life was only disrupted maybe 1 or 2 days a month. But when they are bleeding 5 days or 7 days in a month, now my quality of life is getting disrupted for a week. So thinking like that, or they are bleeding 2 times a month, my quality of life is getting disrupted twice a month. So thinking like that, you're being very selfish, you're not understanding the purpose only of when someone is sick also, there's a purpose to someone's sickness also. When someone is sick, they are the weaker person in your family at that time, and you are meant to help them at that time when they are sick. You're not meant to add to their harm. And if you are taking away the organ that is actually keeping them healthy, or at least pointing to them where the unhealthy factors are there in their life, if you take away the key organ necessary for them to understand what is harmful for them, then you're adding to someone's harm. So this thing related to women's health, I want people to understand. And while I said there are chemicals in our scented and women's products that are causing this health harm in women, other than the chemicals, another thing that I found very prominently in India, it was possible in US also, I just didn't observe it in US, but in India I observed that certain Chinese food or North Indian food uses these red food coloring agents in our food to make it look very attractive to the person eating the food. And those red food coloring agents also have some chemical components in it, which I believe harms our period flow. Because the few times when I was really in high heavy period flow stages, at that time, similarly how I observed when exposure to scented products increased my period flow, or I was getting period sooner, similar things are related to that, or even pain related to my reproductive organs was manifesting in my health when I was consuming food with high amount of food coloring, especially the red colored food coloring. I don't know about the other food coloring, but in general also, every time I see very heavily colored food products, intuitively I feel there's some health harm associated with it. When the data will emerge for those other food coloring agents, I don't know, or how it will emerge, I don't know. But definitely for the red colored food coloring products, if anyone, so any woman who is starting to see that their periods earlier used to be every 28 days and now it's happening sooner, start you can start making these simple changes in your life. That if you are once a month eating outside, eat foods which are not artificially colored. Eat foods in places where start practicing yoga, meditation, anything that balances your health or attunes you with your body's needs. Then immediately you will understand, or slowly as you develop the skills, you will start understanding what food products you consume are helpful for you, what food products you're consuming are harming you in subtle ways. But when your body is going into major health risk phases, at that time that subtle harm that was happening earlier becomes a very overt harm over time of exposure to something harmful. So the first day I use a scented product, I may not get any health harm from that scented product the first day I use it, because only microscopic amount of that product might be stuck in some area of my body, or is like irritating my hand, but like, which has literally happened to me. There were scented products I've used for 1-2 years, and at that time maybe I was getting very rough hands or mild, very negligible irritation in my hand, that I ignored it. And most of us will ignore it because it's negligible harm. But when that same product, or when I'm at a health status where multiple things are going wrong with my health, at that time that same product which was causing very negligible harm of giving drier hands, or causing occasionally eczema, or causing my hands to feel a little burning sensation, that same product, when maybe that product plus water supply is also maybe bad in my area, or some 2-3 combination things are going on, or enough of that product has now accumulated in my hands because daily I'm using that hand wash for washing my hands. All of these, depending on each of us, something different will manifest, but that same product which was giving a mild irritation might end up causing eczema in your hands after 1-2 years of usage of that product. And that's where your mindfulness has to come into place, that yes, while you for getting eczema you can take some medicine, you can apply some lotion or cream on your hands, but the main solution for your eczema is if you remove the root source of your problem slowly from your life. Second thing, and when you're taking medicine plus having a health problem related to some toxin in your environment, at a time there has got to be a balance also in which you have to remove that product from your use. So that's why in my previous video, I wrote it in my previous video as a solution, that anytime some chemical you are normalized using in your life, that chemical you can't suddenly just one day stop using, because your body is used to also a certain level of toxin now. So when your body is used to a certain level of exposure of a toxin, at that time, say if I was washing my hands 5 times, like whenever I go to the bathroom I wash my hands, so, or whenever I'm in the kitchen I'm washing my hands with a particular brand of hand wash. Now that same brand which I'm using in my kitchen and bathroom leads me to wash my hands, let's say 5 to 10 times in a day. So if I am using a product which is starting to show that it is causing hand irritation or allergy or eczema or something, and I've realized that this is the product that is doing it, the saner solution is not to just stop using it but dilute that product, which is what I did. Slowly I tapered off using certain products. Some products which are very harmful, like immediately if it's burning my hand, of course when it's burning your hand you have to stop using that. When it's causing excess breathing distress, you have to stop using that. When it is causing some very severe allergic response which can lead to even hospitalization, at that time you have to stop using the allergic product. But if you are at a minor level of allergy, at that time the sanest choice is not to take bunch of medicines or apply a bunch of medication, and a saner choice in a very polluted earth is to reduce use of that product slowly over time, and then slowly transition into finding better quality products which are more health aligned for you, which is what I did in US. In US also I was getting product problems from scented products, and for me it was just minor scale skin irritation related problems at that time. So at a time I stopped using those scented products. After using it for a month or a year, if I observe that this product is not beneficial for me, I changed the brands. I would use a different brand to and kept using different brands according to what my body is showing me is beneficial for me or what is harmful for me. That's why also I understand deeply when a product itself is causing me harm, or someone in the family who doesn't like me, or someone in the home who's entering my home and doesn't like me, when they add something to the product, or if water pollution is going on and that is adding something to the product. Because when I'm diluting a product, how will I dilute it? I'll be diluting it with my water supply. Now if my water supply is also contaminated and the product is also causing me health harm, but now if there are two products causing me health harm, how did I discern? I started discerning that difference by going through the process of elimination of all the products that first individually was causing health harm, and now jointly two things are causing health harm. So I hope this made sense, and this is how I have discerned in my life how what is health safe, what is not health safe. Because every problem I can't fix with a medicine, especially a densely populated country can't fix every health problem with a medicine. Because you have to understand, every time you take a medicine, use a medicine. I have literally found this problem in a homestay where that lady has some skin problems. Because she has skin problems, she is using ointments and creams for and medicine for that problem. Because she uses ointments and creams and medicine for that problem daily, now every time, and she's the most ladies are the cooks of the family, most ladies are the cleaners of the family, so she loves to cook. So she is, and it's also homestay, so they cook for their guests also. So regularly a lot of cleaning activities going on in their kitchen. So where do you think all the water from their kitchen is going? It's going in their water supply. And they have both the municipal water supply as well as the underground water supply that supplies water to them. So now that water supply that is supplying water to them, they also use a RO filtration system to filter out the toxins of that area. But RO is not capable of filtering out most of the chemical toxins or majority of the chemical toxins if an area has a lot of toxins in their water. So what is happening is, invariably whatever medicines she is using regularly is going in her water supply. Her hand skin problems also came from some other chemicals that she was using regularly in her daily life. So both of which now are there in their water supply, and both of which are continuously keeping us her or anyone who is going to stay with her, or anyone who is and it's not just about her, it's about all of us. She's just a representative example of the same thing happening in all of our lives. So multiple, if I have taking 10 medicines, or 10 family members are there in my family, each of them are taking one medicine for some health issue, 10 medicines are going in my water supply. And if I'm living in a house where I'm getting directly my water supply's water, then every kind of chemical that has been used in my area and in my home, everything is impacting my local water supply. And when everything is impacting my local water supply and my RO system is only filtering out some of the chemicals, rest of it is again coming back into my body and accumulating again in my body, to keep me in a round and round loop of circular loop of poor health, continuous poor health, because one or the other chemical is continuously entering my body and harming something in my body. Then I'm thinking I'll take a medicine to fix the problem, but that medicine now is adding more to the earth pollution. And it's not just a round and round circle, but it's also a spiraling way of pollution increasing and increasing and increasing. And that spiral of pollution increasing, and pollution then causing your health problem, and that health problem then causing you to take 10 medicines, when a person has now reached a point where multiple health problems have manifested because of multiple chemicals. And if the doctor is not well versed in understanding this, they will treat only one problem. They will not be even able to understand that multiple problems are going on in your health, and they will not even be able to understand that you have to now slowly, the only way to de-escalate the problem is to slowly, step by step, stop taking those things that are health harming you, which is why what I have done. When a doctor is not able to prescribe the right medicine, or is prescribing a medicine which will lead to a health harm, that will escalate a health problem related to another organ for me, or I was having some other limitations related, water pollution related problems, where if they are giving a medicine which needs me to consume lot of water, but at that time my access to clean water was less, my body is telling me not taking the medicine was a better route, because at that time I don't have enough water to take the medicine's actions can't work in my body at that time with poor quality water or no water. So at that time I can't take that medicine. So all these reasons caused me to stop taking a medicine, not take a medicine, or wait, or even when the doctor is confused about my reports, he's not even giving me a medicine. All of which has actually got protection from the heavy chemical loaded health harm that was going on in my body at that time. And slowly one thing that I removed from my health that was harming me, the more I removed the things that I can personally remove from use, the healthier I became. The more and then at that time also, when from outside sources like from food or water that I'm ordering from outside, some harm is happening, or even a vegetable I'm buying, if the vegetable is toxed out, or a fruit I'm buying, the fruit has some chemical toxins, at a time again, if multiple toxins are now not happening because I am doing something that is adding toxic load to my body, but majority of the outside of me things are adding to the toxicity in my body. Now I have to start working on the outside me factors, right? So how am I working on those factors? First is educating people about it, because this is a problem every one of us is suffering from. Only thing is, one person might be having minor level health problem who has a robust health, or who didn't get exposed to as many chemicals throughout the 30-40 years of their life on earth, whereas there would be another person, like I am a 40-year-old with all these health problems, but there's another 40-year-old with maybe only one of this health problem that I am describing in my videos. But for that person who has, if I have 10 health problems and someone else has one health problem which is easily fixable by them not consuming a particular product that is harmful for their health, will their problem be solved if I make a video like this, and if they have the patience to listen to the whole video, right? Or if there is another person, if I have 10 problems, if they have 3 problems, again, will they be able to de-escalate the 3 problems easily, much more easily than I have been able to do, because I have 10 problems. When I have 10 problems, it will take step-by-step approach to take away each of the factors, right? So the factor related to me I had to first take away. Next is the factor related to neighborhood or municipality related choices, where I did, when it is a municipality related choice, I have not only complained to the municipality, or also given them feedback about where I felt the problem might be stemming from. So I gave some solutions as well in my comments to the municipality, because I have to bring change to the level at which I can bring change. If I understand where the problem lies, and if I tell them this is where the problem lies, of course it's up to them to investigate whether that problem is there in that level or not. But at least if I feel that this is the problem, I have to at least complain and let them know this is the problem. Then when they fix it according to the way they are meant to fix it, it helps benefiting everyone. If they don't fix it and that was actually the problem zone, then they will end up harming everyone involved, because these are all multi-level operational problems, and I am a operations oriented person. That's why I can understand sometimes the multi-level operational areas where these problems can stem up. And I'm also a healthcare person. That's why in the healthcare way also, I don't have these multiple degrees for fun. I have these degrees because I have the capacity to understand the degrees in the way in which I have to understand it, to solve the problem in the way I have to solve it. And the way I have to solve it is this: I was guided, that's why, to make these videos. And I am first I started trying to bring the change either at the governmental level by complaining in the government. If a restaurant has some problems, I've even given restaurant reviews related to those things. If a retailer has some problem, I've tried to provide right input even to the retailer about those problems. But because there are multi-level problems going on earth, and I am not the complaining sort. I only complain if 10 things are going wrong or a very urgent thing needs to be solved. So whichever is the urgent thing needs to be solved, there I complain. Sometimes I don't complain also, because you can't continuously keep complaining and be tagged as the person who is always complaining. Even if it is my role, sometimes I have to take a back seat, because if the problem hasn't escalated at a level at which the company is ready to address it, even if I complain about it, if hundreds of people don't complain to that company, that problem may not get solved, because some companies unfortunately operate at that level, which is again starts with the individual level and then escalates at a corporate level. Because if you hire people who do not want to listen to problems, who think that talking about problem manifests problem, which is the misperception. My talking about problem didn't attract these problems to me. I had these problems, went through these problems, solved these problems for 4-5 years. After that, I am talking about these problems. So I've been suffering. Some are not 4-5 year problem also. Some of the problems I'm talking about are problems that have been there in my life for 50 years, not 50, 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, different number of years I have gone through those problems. And they came to me because I have the capacity to discern between what is the problem I can solve, what is the problem collectively needs to get solved, what is a problem a family needs to solve, what is a problem a society needs to solve, what is a problem a company might need to solve, what is a problem a culture might need to solve. So those of us who are going through this medical gaslighting related problems, where maybe they didn't get a medicine and they thought, why didn't I get a medicine, or thought, why didn't I get a treatment. Some of the wiser women I have found online, some women who have gone through medical gaslighting where they didn't get the appropriate treatment for based on the complexity of the disease they were going through, they ended up switching to more natural ways of healing themselves, and that was a better health aligned way of healing them. Because if you went to a doctor, say you the doctor is only able to perceive one health problem in you, and you have 5 health problems going on simultaneously at that same time, the woman knows, some of these women patients, and especially women are more going to be attuned about this, because women have been taking care of their own self healthcare needs for a long time. So those women knew that while the solution the doctor is providing is only a partial solution, and some women went in the search of going again and again to a doctor to find the right doctor. I've even had a friend whose husband did this. He had a back problem, and every time he went to a doctor, they suggested back surgery. After 7 doctors suggesting back surgery, he finally caved in and decided he will do surgery with the 7th doctor. Still, he was also very intuitively aligned. Because he was intuitively aligned, he went to another 8th doctor, even though his surgery was scheduled, say, 1 month later. So when he went to this 8th doctor, that doctor was the kind who first suggested, why don't you take rest, and he suggested some preventative care, supportive care, health strategies to this guy. So as soon as he did these preventative care and supportive care strategies, his back problem went away. So he didn't need to go through a surgical procedure when preventative care and supportive care guided by a good doctor ended up helping resolve his health issue. So at that time, even though his wife was very pissed off, and even though the doctors might have been pissed off because the surgery got cancelled, they both need to understand that you shouldn't subject any human being to unnecessary procedure or medicine if that is not necessary for them, if a better quality health outcome can be achieved via preventative and supportive care strategies. So him taking rest, him resting his back, him doing some supportive therapy related to whatever, I don't know his therapy that was suggested by his doctor, but I have also faced back problems, so I know some of the supportive care therapies I can take, and similar things like that. Every time you are suggested a therapy or a medicine, unless you are at a major health risk at that time, that without this surgery, without this procedure you cannot survive, you should do those procedures and surgeries possibly. That is up to you, that is your personal choice. but there are people like me who are suffering. I have been suffering through many of my health problems for 10 years, and or a problem that had I thought got resolved 10 years back came back again a few years later. So why did it come back? How did it come back? This is the journey I am narrating in these videos, and from that journey I understood that many of those problems that were repeating or coming back were coming back in my life because of different country specific, location specific, family specific, family and local practices specific earth pollution parameters, which only each of us can resolve at the individual level minorly by slowly stepping away from activities that are harming our health. So if you are cleaning your car and at that time your hand is itching with the soap you are using or the water you are using, start getting cleaner water. Start maybe not using the soap that you used to use for 5 years or 10 years, and switch to a soap or a product that is a cleansing agent, that is not a soap but a very milder and easier cleansing agent, that will be healthier cleansing agent for your hands. Or if you are shampooing your hair regularly, like I did that, like I used to shampoo my hair when I was in US. I look at my hair, it's looking so soft and shiny, even though in the last 3 years I have shampooed only maybe once or twice in a year my hair. Then also it's looking so shiny and soft and not as oily or greasy. Why? Firstly, I've not been traveling so much. When I travel, I might shampoo a little more than I might shampoo once a month or once in a couple of days. But even then, instead of using the shampoo product, I have also used natural products to cleanse my hair. I have also used like alcohol to beer and wine are good hair cleansing agents, so I've used those products also sometimes to clean my hair. I don't drink. Instead of drinking, I use the drink for cleaning my hair when my hair was needing a cleansing agent that instead of shampoo would be better for my hair. And if I'm not going outside too much in air polluted areas, then I don't even get the greasiness, because it's greasiness that happens to our hair. In if you have observed it or not, I don't know, but I have personally observed it when I lived in a cleaner air quality city. There I didn't need to shampoo my hair as often. When I live in a city where air pollution levels are higher, the hair, first of all, if there is a lot of pesticide being sprayed, pesticides are usually in a oil based spray, so that oiliness also stays in our hair, so that can lead to greasiness in our hair. But our hair also naturally, our scalp will produce some natural oil also to help protect your scalp from the air pollution of your area. So in areas where air pollution, where air itself has a lot of particulate oily matter, or your water has a lot of particulate oil pollution based things in it, or if you are also exposed to multiple kinds of chemicals and other toxins in your area, your hair will be more greasier there. Then you will need more and more cleansing agent to clean your hair. Not simply hair, it's the same thing with your body, same thing with your hair. Is more evidence of air pollution or other pollution parameters in your area, but other evidences will be present also in your body and other things as well. Whereas whichever place has the least pollution, less number of pollution parameters, you won't even need to use heavily all these chemical products to maintain your hygiene. You can actually, in those areas where pollution parameters are the least or nothing at all, in those areas you can easily switch to actually more biological, biosafe, bioenzyme based products, milder level of cleansing agent products than these heavy cleansing agent that gets promoted globally, because the heavy cleansing agents are only needed in very heavy pollution based places. And even in those heavy pollution based places also, slowly if the pollution level are more health harming, then these products also have to stop getting used there. Some other alternative products and solutions have to start coming up in those areas. I hope this makes sense, and if anyone has any questions, please drop a comment, and I would love to open discussions on these topics. Thank you.